Another day, another dollar as I holler to the world. I love the way I'm living, love the Gucci, love the girls, love the parties and the clubs, love the models and hot tubs, love the German engineering set on deep dish dubs. Another tour around the world, entertaining the fans. I love walking through the airport, taking pictures, shaking hands. Every day for me's an oyster, crack it open, find a pearl. I love the way I live is what I holler to the world.
Welcome back to Marking Out with MVP and Dwayne Swayze.
I'm MVP, a very tired, road-weary MVP. And this is the always on point, never slacking, never lacking Dwayne Swayze.
So, happy Monday?
No, not at all. Not at all, man. I'm tired. But I'm grateful for it. It just means, I'm busy. I had a busy week, busy weekend, and had some bookings this weekend. Flew in. A flight departed at like 6:20 a.m., which means I had to be there at 5:20, which means I was up a little before 5. And usually I'm going to bed around that time. Even at this stage of life, I'm still a night owl. So, but we had to get these in because we have a promise to you that every Monday, come rain or shine, this show will be in your feed for you to watch. I'm kind of dedicated to it. And by now, how many episodes in? We're a few months into this thing now, so at this point, we're in a relationship now. I never wanted to be in one, but this is where we're at. We're in a relationship now. So, and speaking of relationships, for those of you who have been in relationships, you know that every now and again you need a little bourbon to help you get through those things.
See, this is going to wake you up right here.
I need it. Well, I started with the caffeine. Had a triple shot, and this, if nothing else, this will get me talking.
All right, so while you're pouring up, one of our Patreon subscribers, oh, look, he's got a cool nickname here. Alfredo, the Latino Lariat Jimenez from Minneapolis, Minnesota. He's done some fantasy booking, and he wants to ask
the Latino Lariato.
Yeah, so shout out Alfredo from Minneapolis.
Fredo. Go ahead.
So he says to you, P, say you and Mr. Kennedy are tagging together, but to save time for the show or any other reason, you both come out together. Who decides which theme music you guys come out to?
So that question actually has a timestamp on it. At that time, Vince would have made that call. That's a production call. But because of where me and Mr. Kennedy were at the time, if they did need to save time, they would have given both of us abbreviated entrances.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because remember, Ken had to do the whole,
Your impersonation of him is pretty good. It's on TikTok if y'all haven't seen that.
But yeah, during that time specifically, we wouldn't have had to come out to one or the other's music. They would have made it a point for us to have our own individual introductions, and they just would have been shorter. And they always make sure you know otherwise, because there have been times when they've had, when they have like the, 6-pack match or whatever, and they got like a bunch of people come out, and then they do what they call quarter carries, where you'll get your entrance, your initial entrance, and as you go down the ramp and you start going down, then they switch.
Oh, so there's a certain point in the ramp where?
Yeah, where you start doing your walk down, and then because of the time, because they have to hustle, your music stops, and then they go to the next entrance. Okay. And you're still going to the ring. They do get you a few, however many seconds of it, and then boom, they take the camera off of you, go back to the next person. So they just kind of do abbreviated versions. But in general, I'm not really, that's a question I don't really have an answer to. I guess the person who's more popular would get their music played in a different situation. I'm not really sure, because that's not something I've personally ever had to deal with that I recall. Interesting. But specifically to that question about MVP and Mr. Kennedy during that time, we would have been given individual shorter entrances, is how that would have gone.
Alfredo, the Latino Lariat.
Lariato!
Thank you for your question. Guys, if you want to be able to ask MVP a question, make sure you sign up to our Patreon. The description is in the, excuse me, the link is in the description.
The link is in the description. We have an opening level, which is free. Give us free. We give you free. For those of you that, can't afford to contribute. And for those of you that can, there are varying levels, and those levels define what content you get. And I think if you check the messages, you'll see that we over-deliver.
Over-deliver.
So if you subscribe to Patreon, we over-deliver on the content, little gifts, that kind of stuff. So please, to quote the great Heath for 3MB, my boy Heath, I got kids, y'all.
I got kids.
We got kids. We got kids we're trying to take care of. So I'm sure you do too, don't get me wrong, but I mean, we're giving you this content, so, yada, yada, yada. But here's to all of you. Here's to those of you who subscribe to Patreon. Here's to Dave Batista. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
And here's the bourbon, because it works.
All right, P. So, first question of the day.
It's funny, every time you say R.I.P., it sounds like you're saying R.I.P.
No, definitely
Hey,
not.
wait a minute, R.I.P.
I'm gonna have
Opening
to,
up with the R.I.P.
Yeah, no,
Whoa,
not
hey.
R.I.P. All right, but I'm not gonna say that anymore because now I'm gonna think of it. What's the role of trust between wrestlers in executing high-risk spots?
What's the role of trust? It's everything. What's the role of oxygen in breathing? It's everything. You have to trust the person that you're working with in the ring. You are literally giving this person your body. And that's not just for high spots. That's for anything. If I allow you to punch me in professional wrestling, it's not normal. Like, one of the things we have to do as professional wrestlers is retrain our bodies, because it's not normal to throw your feet up in the air, land on your back without reaching back.
Right.
Instinctively, you're reaching back to break your fall. In pro wrestling, if you do that, you're gonna break your arm, you're gonna break fingers, you're gonna dislocate your elbow. You learn to trust, you tuck your chin, and you take your bump. In jiu-jitsu, we call those break falls, and when you warm up. And I hated doing them, during the warm-ups, because I do this for a living, man. I don't want to do this I know how to break fall. I don't need help doing that. But trust is everything. And I have to retrain myself not to flinch and turn away. When you go to throw a punch, I have to stand there and trust that your big grown ass is going to extend that fist right to my face and not smash it, not knock my teeth out, split my lip, close my eye up. And I have very fond memories of wrestling school where everybody had black eyes and fat lips learning how to punch. And there were different methods. Some people would have you practice on the wall. Some people would have, everybody had different methods. But my wrestling teacher, Soul Man Alex G, he said, no, y'all gonna practice on each other. You're gonna figure this shit out real quick. And I remember my boy Todd, crazy ass white boy Todd. That was who we used to call him, white boy Todd. Todd used to tell me all the time, like, man, your punches look great, but you can tell you're scared to hurt somebody. They're not close enough yet. You gotta really, he said, and you just gotta not be scared to hurt somebody. I'm like, that goes against everything. He goes, no, man, trust me. You have to just not be scared. And I during that time especially, I gave a few black eyes. I wore a few black eyes. Right. But we all figured out how to punch pretty quick. And, my favorite punch in the whole industry is the Undertaker. If you watch how he punches, his punches have incredible snap. They look like they're right on the button. That man has never hurt me, ever. I clocked him a couple times.
But are they connected? Or is it like, are you pulling right before you?
It's the technique that I use. Everybody, again, different techniques. The technique that I always used, one thing in professional wrestling, we come back to trust. If I set you and say, don't move, because I have you exactly where I need you to be. I know what I'm going to do. I'm gonna hit this move or whatever, and I need you to be right here. If I back you up and set you up and I push your chin up, you know, and I'm holding you, and I come in, I'm measuring my distance because I know from here exactly how close I can come without actually hurting you. Some guys like to get really close.
Y'all saw that? I'm suing. Sorry.
Don't even play. We don't call the police around here, dog. But if you move, I put you where I needed you to be.
Okay.
If you move and I clock you,
10-4.
that's on you. I put you in the safe space. And you know, you hear, especially a lot of OGs will talk about guys that throw shitty punches that hurt. You know, like the punch looks bad and it hurts, you know. Whereas a guy who can throw a great punch that you'll just feel a tap, and you're like, oh wow, you know. Some guys like to punch in the neck, you know, and if you throw a punch to the neck, it looks like you're getting hit in the jaw. I used to like to do where I would throw a series of jabs and then a big right hand. So I'm jabbing you in the neck, but it looks like I'm hitting you in the jaw. One of the things a technique that I use as well that I was taught by the OGs, I don't close my fist up all the way. I hold my fist like I'm holding a roll of quarters. So if I do clock you, you're not getting a closed fist. There's a little bit of give, you know, so I'm gonna catch you, but it's not gonna hurt as bad. But over the years, you develop your skill set and your ability to measure your opponent, put snap on the punch, put it right where it needs to be. And I mean, yeah, sure, sometimes we catch each other. It happens, you know. This happened very recently where Shelton said, 1 or 2 I'm okay with, but not every damn round, you know. 1, all right. 2, hey brother, tighten up, you know. 3, all right, you got a receipt coming now. You know, recito is coming your way. So trust is everything. If you climb up to the top turnbuckle and you're gonna dive off on top of me, I'm giving you my body. You know, if I saw not too long, we've seen it a few times, and it's always cringe to watch, but where somebody's stationary and somebody goes up to do a shooting star press or a moonsault, and they land on the person in an awkward way. That's one of the worst things ever, because you're there for the person you're working with, trusting them with your body, and then their knee comes right across your face, and you know, that's, accidents happen. And things like that, as long as you're not careless about it, it wasn't carelessness that caused that, it was an accident, then that's okay. And when things like that happen, you know, here's a little tidbit, because I saw something not too long ago that really, really bothered me. I won't mention any names, but one wrestler did a move where they injured another wrestler. That wrestler had to go to the hospital. The wrestler who did the injuring didn't go to the hospital with the person they injured. They were in catering getting food afterwards. To which I said something. I'm like, yo, why is this person not at the hospital with the person that they just sent to the hospital? Because if you hurt somebody in our business, it's your responsibility to make sure that person's okay. Now, if that person goes, no, I'm good. It's all right. Don't worry about it, man. No, hey, it's cool, you know. But if that person is being taken in an ambulance to the hospital, it would behoove you. It would behoove you, if you hurt someone, to go with them to the hospital, see them through, make sure they're all right, take care of them. Because you did that. That person trusted you with their body, and you hurt them. And I can't stress that enough. So the role of trust is the glue that holds professional wrestling together. Every match, there's a level of trust. And high spots, you know, we're talking of, you've seen through the years injuries that can take place with the best, the elite level professionals. So if I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna let you give me a hurricane rana from the top rope, then there has to be an amazing level of trust. I know you're good at what you do, and I trust that you're gonna execute this without hurting me. If I don't trust you and you say, yeah, I wanna do this, I'm gonna go, nah, come up with something else. And you know, sometimes guys will get in their feelings about it. Well, this is okay, well, fine. As The Rock, I quote, that's a great idea for you and some other guy. The Rock's not doing that. That's a great idea for you with somebody
Right
else.
on.
And you try to be diplomatic about it to an extent. Like, hey man, I just, and I've talked about this before. I just met you. I don't know how you work. So we're gonna keep this one real simple. We get through this and everything's good and I get a good feel for your intuition and your ability. The next time we can do some more. But this time out, we're gonna keep it real basic, keep it real simple, and build that professional trust so that I know, because we have a saying in wrestling, anytime I leave my feet, I am literally putting my life in your hands. If I let you give me a pile drive, even a body slam, if you slip and drop me, I could be quadriplegic or what have you. So I would go so far as to say that what role does trust play? Trust is the glue that holds the match together. Because if there's no trust, then we're not doing anything. And that trust has to be built. When you see like those legendary TLC matches, that's a level of trust. Most people, I mean, I think you got to be like in the special forces or the military or something to develop that kind of trust where, look, I'm literally trusting this person with my life. And that's hard to do, but it's something that you develop in this industry in time. So trust, the role that trust plays. What is a role? What role does your heartbeat play in your life? Like there's no match without trust. And you can see that sometimes certain matches, not so much anymore, but some of the old school stuff, you can see where guys were wary of each other. And especially back in the day when you had a guy, guys who were like legit shooters and they weren't sure, like, okay, I'm supposed to lose, but this guy's legit. Is he gonna try to, who's gonna double cross who? And if you want to Google it and look it up, because I'm kind of foggy brain, but there are stories of back in the day, famous double and triple crosses, where somebody was supposed to win, but the guy who was legit went in there and took it on them. So trust is everything.
How do you maintain physical condition during a grueling tour schedule?
Oh man. Well, thankfully for modern pro wrestling, the grueling tour schedule doesn't exist anymore. And some of these young talent, when we talk about how the schedule was, I would say my busiest day when I was with WWE was 270 something days on the road, I think. I remember, and I'm sure I've talked about this before, but overseas tours, where we do 10 cities in 10 days with a flight every day. Now, when you get to do those on the bus, it's a lot more, it's easier, but, going through the airport, and I've covered all that, but in that, some days, some people have to make the choice. Do I want to go hit the gym, get this workout in, or do I want to just rest? And, sometimes you need that rest more than you need the workout. Other times you got guys that are just super disciplined, men and women, that are just super disciplined. And they'll find that window, if it's at the hotel gym, where they get up and push through the fatigue and eat and then go to the gym and then get their shit and then go hit the bus. A lot of talent will get a workout in at the building. Some people have their rubber bands or
Okay.
And
in some of these stadiums or arenas, like when I was with you with All In, we went into the Rangers, I guess that's the locker room.
Yeah.
And the amount of equipment that was in there, I was
Well,
blown
yes,
away.
some of the arenas will have gyms that they'll allow us to use. Oftentimes they keep that stuff locked up. They don't want people to have access to it.
Okay.
And I think it's more of a liability thing than anything else. But yeah, some people will use the facilities at the arena if it's possible. Some people you'll see them doing, like I used to do back in the day, the Hindu squats and run the stairs and burpees and things like that. Now, if I'm going to be honest, I was usually up drinking the night before. So getting to the gym, like, I'll do that next week. I'm going to get this sleep right now. And it showed, because I would always laugh about, the Power Ranger suit. People would say to me, some of the boys like, oh, no, man, if you're lucky because, you got that suit, it covers you up. I'm like, no, it clings. So when I'm fat and looking like a chewed up piece of bubble gum, it accentuates my rolls, Come out there looking like the Michelin Man, thinking I'm all, And then, I'll be like, damn, dog, you gotta tighten that up, man. It's getting away from you, man. It's getting away from you. So, but yeah, and it's crazy because through the years, man, I would see certain people that come hell or high water, they were in the gym. It was just part of who they were, part of their identity. Doesn't matter how tired they were gonna find time to go to that gym.
Bobby comes to mind.
Bobby's an anomaly because if Bobby's tired, he works out. If Bobby's bored, he works out. If Bobby's hungry, he works out. Bobby's muscles got muscles, so they need to work out. Like he's just, the gym is his place, man. And while I was never as obsessed with training as Bobby is, I remember there was a time early on in my career where I worked out so often in my mind, I kind of set myself up to where if I didn't work out, I didn't feel right. Okay. I felt a little, not ill, but I definitely felt like, man, I work out today, man. And now I feel that way when I do work out. Like, oh, man, I worked out today, man. I need some bourbon in the joint to feel better, But the schedule isn't nearly as grueling as it used to be. And shout out to James Meritato, Lil Guido. I remember he taught me something when I first got called up. He was saying that because sometimes on the road you don't have time to work out, when you're off the road, you need to work out every day. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Make up for.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because when you're home, you control your schedule.
Right.
So you can run your errands and do your laundry and do whatever you do, but you can get your workout. So, those 2 or 3 days off, make sure you get your workouts in, because when you are on the road, you might have a schedule that precludes you from going to the gym. And now we're talking about, as I love to discuss, the evolution of how things have changed. Before I came into the business, guys used to ride around with a road atlas. There was no GPS. There was no internet. There was no, and I would hear the OGs, my OGs, talk about, just getting to the town and then going to a gas station and then asking, hey, where they having wrestling at? Or, oh, yeah, they have wrestling over yonder at such and such building. You just take this. By the time I came along, when I got called up, it was really weird because it was on the cusp of this new technology entering the fray. And because initially I traveled with a road atlas at first. My youngest brother Justin, he was in college at the time. Now he's Dean Rose. Put some respect on that boy name. Dean. Not just professor. Dean. Yeah, that's right. I used to change his diaper. Now he's educating your children. I would call him up sometimes while I was on the road, and he'd be in his dorm room with Google Maps. And he'd be like mission control, telling me,
goodness.
All right, man, about 22 miles, you're gonna see a dirt road on your right, turn there. And he would help me like that sometimes. But that's when the TomTom showed up.
Okay, yep.
And then the Garmin, and then, and initially they were expensive, but then you could put in POI, points of interest, and you could look up restaurants, and you could look up hotels, and you could look up gyms. Back in the day, finding a gym was word of mouth because guys knew what gyms were in what towns, or if you're in a different town, you got to kind of ask around, look for a gym. And then, came the digital age where now you can look it up. And it's crazy even that, because I remember when I bought my first Garmin Nuvi and how much easier it made travel. And being able to find a place to eat, find a hotel. And from then, it didn't take long before those were played out. Now your car comes standard with GPS in it. Right. And all those points of your phone has it now, like you don't need it anymore. And now, the technology has advanced to the point where you can compare gyms and you can compare rates and reviews and anywhere in the world. So that's changed just because the access to information that comes with modern technology. I was always one that believed that if you know how to work out, you don't necessarily need a Gold's Gym. I know there are a lot of guys, that I've worked with that they want to go to a gym. They want the big weight. They need that. I mean, I was always, I understand the importance of a gym, and when I'm in gym flow, I would use it. But you give me a good hotel gym that has some decent equipment and dumbbells, I get a great workout in there. I'm going to do my burpees with weights and different functional movement exercises, as well as some aesthetic lifting. And
Very CrossFit of you.
Yeah, CrossFit your way out this cross choke.
Y'all heard that again.
Keep talking while I'm wearing my jiu-jitsu shirt. I feel empowered. Yeah, I figured out that with a good hotel gym, with dumbbells and some little equipment, if they got some treadmills, I could get a good functional workout in between shows. I didn't feel the need to just have to be in a major gym. Now, granted, sometimes I look like a chewed up piece of bubble gum, and sometimes I look better. It all depends on. Hey man, I'm keeping it real, man. My pendulum swings. If I got like a jiu-jitsu tournament coming and I'm focused, I'm dialed in, I'm working on my cardio, I'm training. I'm not training for aesthetics. I'm just training for competition, for actual action. So aesthetically I look better because the fat's coming off, the muscles building, and I look great for that. But then once that tournament's done, or once that big match is done, then I'm drinking, eating pizza and ice cream, and then I'd walk up and look in the mirror and go, "Damn, man, you did it again, man. Hey, go back to work, man. Get right." So, but as far as the grueling, that grueling schedule doesn't exist anymore. So now for modern day pro wrestlers, you don't have an excuse not to be in the gym. You don't have an excuse to not look like an athlete. And I'm not saying that you gotta look like Bobby Lashley, but man, look like you're a fighter, and fighters come in like different, like Tank Abbott was knocking people out. He had a big old belly. You look at but me and Joe, I wish we would have talked to him about this. I think Joe called himself the Fat Boy Saint. Like Fat Boys wanted, but what about Samoa Joe? Yeah, but you can't work like Samoa Joe. And you can't talk like Samoa Joe. So don't try to compare yourself to Samoa Joe because you're fat and you don't look like you're in shape. Like, yeah, there are some amazing athletes. You can look at, combat sports and see some guys that aren't chiseled, but they are badasses, but they're training all the time, You're not. What's your excuse? I don't know. That's between you and your goals. But yeah, and it's also a matter of not just aesthetically, but also having the cardiovascular endurance to safely take care of your partner as you're working through a match. Because, hey man, accidents happen, but don't lend to the possible catastrophic circumstances because you're not in shape, because you're tired, If you drop somebody on their head because you're tired, that's unforgivable. That's unforgivable.
Are you guys expected to be able to lift a certain amount of weight?
No, I'll say this. I remember a long time ago when John Cena was still the U.S. champion, before they pulled the trigger on him. I was backstage, and I went and I asked him for some advice. And he made a great point. He said, "Listen, dude, when you come out, there's no graphic next to your name that says how much you squat, how much you bench. He said, you don't have to be strong. You just have to look strong." I was like, oh, yeah. Now, granted, John Cena was. I mean, I don't know now. His training regimen has changed a lot, I'm sure, because of Hollywood. But back in the day, I remember when he picked up Big Show and Edge, dude was sick with the strength. So he looked strong and was strong. But, there are some guys that don't look like they can beat anybody, And for me, that the suspension of disbelief sometimes is like, wait a minute, But when you see Rey Mysterio in there with the Big Show, you think, this shouldn't happen. But Rey Mysterio is one of the all-time greats. So again, I say, don't compare yourself to an all-time great, but that's something else. Like Mick Foley. People used to give Mick Foley a lot because of his physical condition, but Mick Foley could go. Mick Foley could turn in the time. Mick Foley wasn't hurting people, and if Mick Foley was hurting himself, you know. But like I said, this comes back to, you know, like mixed martial arts. You know, you look at the Super Samoan. Gosh, I can't think of his name right now. It's killing me. But he's a knockout artist. You know, he's kind of like along the lines of Samoa Joe. You look at him, and he looks kind of fleshy, and you know he doesn't look like an elite level athlete, but that dude's an elite former Pride champion, elite level striker. So, you know, just comes down to taking care of yourself and making sure ultimately that you are in shape to take care of the person you're in the ring with. You know, it is an aesthetic business. It always has been, and to an extent, it always will be. And, you know, you want to present the best version of you for the masses to consume. At least that's my opinion. And all of this is my opinion, based on my over 20 years of experience. You know, I might know a thing or two. I've been making a living in this business a long time. You can debate me, but it takes two to debate. So if you haven't made any money in this business, then I'll just dismiss your opinion. You know?
If you are listening to the audio-only version on Spotify or Apple Music, have you liked? Have you subscribed? Have you left a comment, left a review?
If you haven't, you got heat with me. If you haven't, I'm just saying, like if you're listening at this point, I'm sure you've heard something that you like. So like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. You know, I'm not looking at the camera now because I'm doing audio. See, so I'm just my eyes are off. I'm doing audio right now. But when I look at the camera, see, this is for video.
So now we're doing video. YouTube.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe, share.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I know a lot of you have your wrestling text group, your group text and group WhatsApp. Put the link to the show in the group and go, hey guys, watch this, because I'm here dropping gems for free. What is that, Wallow and Gilly, $1 million worth of game? $1 million worth. I'm giving you more than $1 million worth of game. I'm giving you, in my career, I've been fortunate that I have made millions. And I'm telling you how to do it. I'm giving you the game. I'm giving you the blueprint. Now, whether or not you execute, that's up to you. And if you're a fan that you're not trying to wrestle, well, I'm just giving you some insight on how things are done. And I like to specifically be able to tell you, because I've been here in this space for 20 years, how it was before I got here, how it was when I got here, how things changed through my career, and how it is now. I have a very unique insight because kid's still around.
I was about to say, all right, P.
Nah, R.I.P. R.I.P.
I heard it said, I don't like that. All right. What is the role of audience participation in enhancing a match?
Oh, man. Now, see, I like that question specifically because I have said a number of times, man, the power of an audience is crazy, because an audience can take an above average match and make it a great match, or they can take a great match and turn it into an above average match, and that all comes from the crowd participation. And when I say crowd participation, I don't mean what, because then you guys just come off like a giant herd of idiots. But I'm talking about the crowd participation that's natural, the oohs, the ahs, the ohs, the reaction to what's taking place in the ring, the fight. When you have a match that is flowing along with the storytelling, the ebbs, the flows, and you can hear that audience, and they're hanging on in every part of that match, and they're, as we say in the business, they're popping at the right moments. As Pat Patterson used to say, the crowd go banana. If you're doing it right. But then sometimes you got those crowds that just are sitting on their hands and they're like,
Okay, wrestlers, entertain me. Do something I haven't seen before. Impress me. Fuck you. If you didn't come to have a good time, then that's on you. And I tell young guys all the time, know your audience. Don't bring your 5-star, we used to say back in your 5-star Ring of Honor main event match to Tupelo, Mississippi, because they don't understand it. I like to give this example many, many years ago. I want to say it was Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles, I think, on a show in like Arcadia, Florida. And they had an awesome match. It was like really good, especially, you know, for that time as the game was changing with the athleticism and the style of wrestling. Like in Philadelphia, in New York, in one of those cities, like that match would have been like, ah. But it was too much for this particular audience to digest. And the proof in that is where Scoot Andrews, the Black Nature Boy, and Chris Candido went out there and they did the crisscross spots where one stops and the other one keeps running, and you know some of the goofy things. They made it more of an entertaining style match, and the crowd was on everything. They were laughing and popping and enjoying it. Where I was, and I remember there was a lesson for me because I'm like, these guys went out here doing this goofy shit, and this crowd was all over it. These two guys went out here and gave a performance, and the crowd was kind of ho hum. You know, it's not that and when I say ho hum, I mean like they applauded, they popped, but they weren't nearly as engaged as they were for the entertainment style of Chris Candido, rest in power, and Scoot Andrews. And I remember watching that, and we were in Arcadia, Florida, which is a very southern, you know, people think of Florida and they think, you know, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Tampa, but they forget like you can't go further south than Florida. So once you get outside those major areas, you know, you are in some rural, like hick towns. So, you know, I will go so far as to say, and I'll, you know, rub some people the wrong way on this, but the sophistication of the audience changes what they expect from a match. You know, you can take, you know, an amazing Tokyo Dome banger and put them in and put that in front of, you know, a crowd in Tupelo, Mississippi, and it might be too much for them to digest. They want to see tackle, drop down, leapfrog, drop kick. You know,
that's their wrestling.
That's what they're used to. That's what they're used to consuming. I always say know your audience, because if you go to Philly, you know, you better put your working boots on, because they will boo you. You know, you could be on the field with a broken neck and they'll boo you. You know, like shout out to Bill Burr. Yeah, Philly rant. Yeah, Google it. Yeah, I tell guys know your audience, because, and that's, you know, me and Shelton would say, don't raise the economy. If these people came to have a good time and they want to be entertained, entertain them. Don't feel the need to go out there and have, I gotta have a 5-star match. Yeah, you can have a 5-star match, but in a different way. Because don't wrestle for the internet or for the douchebags that are gonna give their opinion on the leader level. Wrestle for the people that you're performing for. Wrestle for those fans that are in attendance, that bought a ticket. Or wrestle for the fans that are watching at home. Know your audience. Where you are dictates how your match should be. Now, you know, I'm not, and that doesn't mean take a night off. That means change your structure a little bit. You don't need as many false finishes, because these people, after, and you can hear it sometimes.
That's interesting.
I tell some of these guys, listen, you had these really cold false finishes plugged into your match. Did you notice how on the third false finish, the crowd didn't pop as much? Your pop started to decline instead of increase. You had them at their peak. You're not gonna get them any higher than that. Take it home, you know. You have to know how to please your audience. And that just comes from experience, because, you know, when the younger wrestlers, they wanna go out there and try to put on, you know, a 5-star masterpiece every night. And kudos to them for that. You know, you should always try to do your best, but also keep in mind your bump card, as we say, the wear and tear that you're putting on your body. You know, if you're out there in a VFW hall in front of 75 people, don't
get hurt. Don't do your spinning reverse scorpion death plant through the table under the floor in front of 75 people for your $25, you know. If you're gonna do that, there's a time and a place. I'm not saying never do that,
Right.
but there's a time and a place for that. Do that on, you know, some major show, major venue. Understand the, you know, if people are showing up to buy tacos, don't serve them spaghetti.
Big 10-4. Yeah. Big 10-4.
What is this noodles and sauce stuff? I came for some tacos, you know, and vice versa, you know. So just know your audience, and you always be you. Whatever your character is, always be you. But again, you can tailor your character. You know, again, if I'm at a New York show, you know, and I'm a heel, my heel's a little bit different, a little bit more menacing, a little more serious, a little more. If I'm, you know, somewhere in a smaller venue, there's a family show, there's a lot of kids. Well, yeah, I'm still gonna be a bad guy, but I'm gonna be a different kind of bad guy. You know, I'm not gonna be as brutal or as, you know, it's a family show, man.
So what do you do? What do you do, P? Like, it's television. It's in one of those towns where it's not like in New York or Philly, and how would you structure?
You said TV.
Yeah. So does TV play into that? As
Yes. And this is what I'm trying to tell these young guys all the time, and you'll see it. You could tell an inexperienced wrestler on television if they come out and turn their back to the hard cam when they do their entrance, because they're playing to the people in attendance, not to the people at home. You know, you have a few thousand people here. You have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, out there. So when you come out, do your intro, even if you're in a smaller venue, and there's just, you know, a few thousand people in the building, your audience, your viewership is out there. And it's kind of hard sometimes for younger people to shake that and realize, like, yeah, acknowledge these people, but do everything for that camera.
So you wouldn't structure the match for the house then, if it was in one of those small, like, rural places?
No. Television is different.
Different. Okay.
TV, you do TV as TV.
Okay.
You know, that's your television is television. And yeah, you know, sometimes, again, because of the audience, Chicago is one of the greatest wrestling towns. The man, those people explode, the energy, you know, and they make you want to do more. Like when you get that kind of energy and that crowd is fired up and you feel it, man, the adrenaline's flowing. The bumps and bruises don't hurt as much, you know, and you want to get fired up. You want to do the stuff, you know. And then sometimes you find yourself in front of a crowd where, like I said, they're sitting on their hands, or they're not as warm, they're not as hot. Well, if you're wrestling for television, you still put on a television match for those people watching at home. But if it's a live event, take it easy. You know, I remember specifically, and I'm being on the road. We were on a tour in Italy, and the only time I've ever seen the Undertaker break kayfabe in the ring. I don't remember what the town was in Italy, but me and Ken against the Brothers of Destruction, and man, I was bumping my ass off. And at one point, nothing from the crowd. Nothing. And man, you know, me and Ken are working, man. And finally, Taker just stops and he looks around and he goes, "Are y'all really that bad?" He goes, "Come on, Pete, take it home."
To the crowd.
He said, "Are y'all really that bad?" He was done. Because and it was a long tour. We were busting our asses. We're working hard and we're getting nothing from the crowd. And we ended up, you know, I mean, we gave them a show. They bought a ticket. We worked hard. We didn't take anything from them. But sometimes if you're getting that reaction from the crowd, you want to give them more.
Right.
You know? And this is one night we were like, "Hey, man, don't get hurt out here for these people. No. These people don't appreciate you. They're not here."
So how does, like, the Italy crowd versus what you told me, Tokyo?
That city.
That city. That specific city.
Yeah,
versus,
for whatever reason.
Versus Tokyo, where I know listening to you and Mercedes, it was kind of like it's not as loud and the crowd reacts differently.
Okay, so even there, it's kind of weird because, like, a lot of the time, if you watch Japanese matches, you'll see while the guys are working, the crowd's quiet. They're watching. They're paying attention. You know, they're an educated fan base.
Okay.
And then, you know, when things happen, you hear them fire up. But that's kind of deceptive, because when you see like the big matches, the big main event title matches, they're just like an American crowd. You hear them from start to finish. They're in it. They're loud. Yeah. And there might be lulls where they come down a little bit, but you hear that energy. They're fired up. But you know, I always like that Japanese crowd where, you know, they come down a little bit, and then you do something, and, you know, some kind of a high spot or a cool wrestling maneuver, and you come out of it, and then you hear, oh, that's one of my favorite sounds ever. But yeah, the Japanese crowd, they're different like that sometimes, where they will be quiet, but they're watching. They're not like other places where they're quiet out of indifference, you know. So, yeah, you know your audience. If it's television, work your ass off like it's television. If it's a live event with a small, or, you know, like we used to say, a house show, or if you're a young indie wrestler and, you know, you're used to working on a decent show where there's, you know, maybe 500, 800 fans, and, you know, that's a nice show, go out there. But if, you know, if you're at the you know, the VFW hall and there's 50 people, give those people a show, but tailor your show. There, you don't need to be doing a 450 splash. You know, you don't need to get set on fire through the burning table or whatever. You know, just try to be intelligent, take care of yourself, give the people their money's worth, but take care of yourself.
I wish I could have seen Undertaker break character.
Man, are y'all really that bad? Come on, P, let's go home. It's like, had enough of this shit.
We've done it again.
Once again.
Yes.
And I'm tired today, man. Damn, I was tired. Like I really dug deep in this one for all of you. Look, I don't have on a suit. I don't have on a warm-up suit. I grabbed two, because we're doing 2 episodes today, just to make sure we're able to maintain our continuity. And I just grabbed 2 t-shirts from the jiu-jitsu shirt pile. So the next episode we're gonna shoot, it's just gonna be another jiu-jitsu t-shirt. Normally, I go through the extra step of dressing for the presentation, because normally I don't come into this establishment with just a t-shirt on. You know, it's a classy establishment. You know, look around, get the vibe. Dwayne Crane dressed appropriately. Me?
Well, you were on a flight. You were wrestling.
Oh man, yeah, I took bumps this weekend. I took a black hole slam. I took a few things. Yeah, my back hit the canvas hard this weekend. It did. So, but if you made it to this point, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'm having so much fun doing what I'm doing here with Dwayne and with our crew that you can't see behind the camera. There's a whole bunch of people here working, a whole bunch. We got a big crew, a lot of mouths to feed. But I really appreciate you tuning in. When you guys leave comments, we love reading the comments, and, you know, when you give us feedback, you know, your opinion of the show, of the questions, the answers. When you share it with your fellow wrestling fans, it means a lot to us. So like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And you got anything else for him?
You know, I want to steal your line.
Go ahead, take us out.
Oh, lucky me. See ya, Space Cowboy.
I just lay back in something new. Whiskey 21 and over, low ball. Make it too neat. Dizzer from Harlem. Yeah, I'm from Houston, off of Fondren. Mike Mazan and real world flow. Plant these seeds in the streets and in weeks. Watch it blossom. Dark night, riding on chrome, swinging through Gotham. It's me and P, repaving these roads.